Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Painted in Color podcast. I'm co-host Lauren Brown, joined by co-host Mia Araujo and Eric Wilkerson. And today, after a brief conversation about children's books and the trends that are happening right now, we are actually going to be talking about portfolio reviews, what to put in your portfolio if you are an aspiring professional, and or just somebody who's looking for the way to advertise your work in the most effective means. So come in, listen, and get some knowledge, y'all. Put that ego aside and time for some learning.
So when they're referring to it as commercial, it means more like licensed property, like
Oh,
the
okay.
Golden Books, Disney presents, Moana or something like that, children's book.
Well, like the
That's
Taylor
gonna,
Swift children's books and stuff.
yeah,
Yeah.
well, not necessarily a Taylor Swift because they would find a children's book illustrator and marry them with Taylor. Taylor would have to choose who she wants
Sure.
to work with.
But
But
would they go with a more commercial style for something like that? Because it's a celeb
I
book or no?
I don't
Or does
think
it
so.
depend?
It
Okay.
it totally depends on the celebrity author. But
Interesting.
for the stuff that they call commercial, or what I've been told by publishers is too slick,
Hmm.
is when they're the children's book is using an established IP or something.
Huh.
It's a Disney or it's a Nickelodeon or it's something where everything's very clean and crisp and looks like a cell shaded piece of animation. Like you just pause the screen and
Hmm.
then just slap some text on it. And that works for some publishers, some publications, but a lot of that look goes strictly to the licensed children's book properties.
Hmm.
Whereas most of the children's book stuff being put out today looks like you just handed crayons to a kid and just
Hmm.
said, go,
So you
right? They
think it's
want
more
that.
from that?
They
Yeah.
they want something that's approachable, that feels approachable to a child. So
Hmm.
the rougher it feels, the more innocent and iconographic it feels, the better.
Or like more texture, like more like hands-on like materials, like as opposed to like a slick digital look. Maybe they want more traditional
Thousand
materials
percent.
and stuff.
Yes.
Yeah.
And what's funny is I have children's book illustrator friends that say, you know, because they've moved through the industry through all of the different changes in the industry over the past like 30 years. And back in the 1980s, children's books looked like Babysitter's Club, covers. Everything was photorealistic.
Yeah.
Children were all photo referenced. Everything was polished.
Yeah.
And then somewhere along the line, well, there was always the stylized stuff where the wild things are, and the all the stuff from the 60s, but through the 80s there was a range of stuff, but
Yeah.
it's kind of went down one street
Yeah.
with things becoming more simple,
Hmm.
and simplistic. Um,
It's interesting because that same thing kind of happened in parallel with illustration as well, like commercial illustration in terms of just stuff that looked more naive, as they called that in art school. Like
Yeah.
naive style became super popular, especially in New York and stuff like that. And like people didn't want super rendered editorial illustration or things like that. They wanted more of that, like what you now consider stuff that gets into com arts and things like that, like those juried annuals, you know?
yeah, something that has its own voice.
Yeah.
Like when you look at a lot of the photorealistic stuff in really any genre, it's harder to tell who did it
Yeah.
unless they are purposely adding some kind of textural stuff or a certain palette.
Hmm.
But in children's books, you can tell the difference between B. Jackson and somebody else immediately,
For sure.
Yeah.
or children's book illustrator of your choice. They all have a range of styles, but somebody's super sweet, innocent anime kind of visual development style might not fit the subject matter of some civil rights or slavery book or
Sure.
something like that, but it's perfect for little girl gets ice cream and learns to tie her shoes or
Hmm.
something like that. So
So you would see that subject matter being commercial as well? Like just like
No, so like something where there is a very clear stylistic look to the work
mhm,
that is different from, the next 10 or 12 illustrators. That is a more of a literary
mhm,
look and style that the publisher likes, because something like that you could keep on somebody like that you could keep on using book after book after book, or if there's a series or something you can keep that going because the kids identify with it. But if you have that commercial look to your work, that polished slick stuff, it's kind of limiting for the illustrator, because if they don't have the next SpongeBob book or the next Moana or Disney book for you, then they're not going to give you work. But
mhm.
if you have a unique voice to your portfolio, then that's great. Then they can kind of you can they can try to marry you with different authors, and or you eventually start writing your own stuff. And
Yeah.
so I think of somebody like Kadir Nelson, for example. uh that's not a commercial look. That
Mhm.
is a very
Yeah.
unique kind of Ernie Barnes inspired style, but he's been able to run with it, and he even dialed it down. He made it even cuter
Mhm.
with a book that he did for Spike Lee years ago.
Yeah, I remember that.
You
Mhm.
know,
It looks so different from his stuff now. Like it was very, very like stylized, you know?
Yeah.
it was, but it wasn't Disney.
Yeah,
It
yeah, yeah.
wasn't big,
Yeah, it was
cute
very distinct
eyes. It
from
was
that.
still him,
Yeah.
but it was like compressed.
Yeah.
That's so because he does these really elongated characters, but it was like these cute little kids. Um, but yeah, that's there's it just changes in the industry,
Yeah.
but that is one thing that I've been told for, oh man, a good 15 years now, is, yeah, if your children's book portfolio is too slick, too polished, if it looks like you just made a screenshot from an animated film, good luck,
Mm.
because they don't want it.
Mm.
And if you're being taught by some illustration professor that was an illustrator back, in the 1980s, they don't know.
Yeah.
They're just telling you what worked for them in 85.
What if somebody had like a Disney style or an anime style, but it was more like kind of looser, kind of you know how in Viz Dev paintings like where they keep brushstrokes looser, like is that then not considered commercial because the finish is less polished?
Yes. So it feels more thoughtful,
Hmm.
and it's rougher, and it's something that a kid like that would be scribbling with crayons or thinking about, applying those textures. It's something that's more approachable,
Hmm.
something that doesn't have that polished look to it. So that's why you see a ton of viz dev artists making their way into
Hmm.
children's books.
Yeah, it
Hmm.
makes a lot of
Um,
sense to me.
yeah, because they have a style that allows them to turn out a page in no time,
Yeah.
because that's just how they work.
Yeah.
It's fast,
Hmm.
and but their understanding of light and color, it's just second to none. So
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
everything.
you just when
It's like,
you're looking at a children's book made by a viz dev artist versus somebody that's just like, I guess I'll just cut some cardboard and, and just paste it on. No, God, these people they're amazing.
Yeah.
Viz Dev
And
artists they have all this like volumetric lighting and rendering, and like there's just like a color sense that is very unique to them, and like the way that they use texture is like, Viz Dev artists are incredible.
Yeah.
it's
They
not
really
it's not
are.
fair.
It
It's not fair.
is.
So not fair.
Because
But yeah, it's like the
yeah.
industry is always like formulating a response to like what is happening. So it's like it's all these passing trends are I don't know, it's always a reaction to something. So it's like just, just like they said they don't want big eyes because of Disney, it's like the rise of golden books is like they want to be distinct from that. They want to separate themselves from that in some kind of way. And it's just interesting to see how that ripples through each part of the industry. Um, because I haven't done children's books yet, or really have explored like that side of publishing at all. This is all new to me, so I'm just like it's just really interesting to see how this like always happens like between games, between animation,
Yeah.
between children's books. It's just like there's always a response to the popular thing.
Yeah. But I have to say that if your style is like, I tend to draw bigger eyes when I stylize characters. I just do. And
Mhm.
I'm just like, I'm not gonna like I had a style that was like with dot eyes that I actually really liked. That was my little shorthand of the thumbnails when I was figuring plotting out the book. I tried a few versions where I was trying to finish that style. And anytime I started putting color on it, it just works better in black and white. It
Mhm.
was just so much more charming in black and white. Kind of like Calvin and
Interesting.
Hobbes, like
Interesting.
the color frames for Calvin Hobbes are fun, but really the
Mhm.
heart and soul of that is in black and white. So for me, I just could not find a style that worked in color, and I just gave up on that, and I went for my more polished style, as you'd call it, even though, and I ended up doing a more mixed media thing. I was doing, these water soluble crayons with color pencil, with acrylic paint,
Oh
with ink.
wow.
Like it was like multimedia essential or whatever, mixed media that I've never done before. And that's the style that they okayed and went with. But again, it was just like, I'm sorry, I'm not going to change the style, the way I draw these faces because it's not as popular, and that's just what I'm going to have to, I'm going to have to struggle with that in the sense that if there is a bias against that. But I was going to ask you guys, you hear that advice, right, in terms of trends or what they like or don't like, but what would your advice be to artists who are like, the thing I happen to like is something that people are saying not to do?
Honestly, I don't know. I'm in the camp of do the thing that you do and do it well.
Yeah.
And do it like you would do it, like only you would do it. Because even when things aren't trending at the moment, or your style goes out of fashion, or your style was never in fashion, you're doing the thing that you're doing and you're honing it and polishing it, and like you have adaptability. You can change, what you're doing. You can change how your approach is as long as it is your approach. Um, I don't know, it's something that nobody can take away from you.
Yeah.
When you're trying to trend chase and you're doing something that's inauthentic to you, I don't know, I'm somebody else. I'm somebody who also doesn't like to change my style just based on what people are expecting of me. I like doing things the way that I do them, and I like to go where I'm wanted. So if something over here doesn't want my style, then I'm like, okay, I guess it's not for me then. I'm gonna go over here. It's not to say that you can't change your style because I think a lot of people have multiple styles, and I have multiple styles because I also have like a dot eyes style that I've like done for like mock children's books and things like that too. Where it's like more textured and I draw it on tracing paper, and the tracing paper has the texture that goes through, and so it translates to the color version, which is pretty cool. But I have multiple styles, but I draw them all like I draw them. I draw them like me. And I think it's important to be adaptable, but if you know that something is not going to work for the story that you're trying to tell, and you're trying to force yourself in a box just to fit that thing, because somebody's asking you to do it, and it's yours, I feel like that's just going to hurt you in the long run. You're going to be making this, and you're going to be in the thick of it, and you're going to hate it because it's not how you were going to do this in the first place, and it's kind of betraying what your sensibilities were as an artist. So that's my take on it. I'm curious to hear what you think, Eric.
All right. So what I'm going to say might offend somebody out there that is making a children's book portfolio. But when I coming up through school, it was beaten into us realism, perspective, anatomy, fundamentals. And then when you go over to children's books, they're like, make it look cute. Who cares about anatomy? Who cares about proportion? It just got to be your style, whimsical, like approachable to a child. Um, and when I did my children's book, I was stuck between two worlds where my brain is like, you need to photo reference the shit out of everything and make sure the lighting is correct and all this and your colors and your color schemes, all this stuff you had to think about. I had to think about all of that. But at the same time, the publisher's like, make it simple, keep it simple.
Mhm.
Remember who the audience is. You know where, and then pages would come back to me for revisions. Fix this, fix that. Um, you know, really just I think it was all about compromise because I was known for doing these really polished, realistic uh, book covers. And they were taking this leap with me to do a more stylized children's book. Even though I had that proof in my portfolio, I wasn't showing that publicly. It was just something I had for my agent to say, well, here's what you can shop around in addition to my book cover work. This is what I'm capable of. But I still had to do style sheets and a full test page to show the client and the celebrity author so that I could get the job because there was still this doubt in everybody's mind, is this the right person for this?
Mhm.
So I think 3 or 4 people ended up doing the same test that I did, and I ended up just winning the day. But that struggle in my head of like fundamentals and color theory and all these things, yes, you see it to a certain extent in children's books, but not the same way. It's not used the same way that a magic card artist or somebody that's doing sci-fi fantasy book covers, realistic painting is doing, or some portrait painter. You are using, it's a different part of your brain
Mhm.
because you could say, I'm just going to make this rough and cute, but it's got to be consistent. You can
Yeah.
do it rough and cute for one page, but rough and cute, the same head, the same face, and you got to make it look like that person for 30 pages.
Yeah.
That is hard.
It is hard. And it
And
appeal and finish. Like it has to be rough but finished. And
Yeah.
it's
right.
just like
And
Like a
so
very delicate balance.
I
mhm.
remember initially saying children's books is easy because I don't have to think about all of the things
No.
that I usually think about for a book cover commission or for a magic card. I could just dial down my ability. If I'm cranked to 11, I could dial it down to a 6 and still knock out a children's book. But then I did it and I was like, "Oh my God, this is incredibly difficult." They
Yeah.
keep coming back like his eyebrows need to be fixed again.
No escape, Eric.
I was trying to write before I stepped away to focus on what I've been doing with Wizards. I was trying to write a children's book, and I was working on character designs and sample pages, like a whole book dummy, to present to Scholastic because they had first look,
Mhm.
and uh, I wanted it to be polished. I wanted it to be slick. I wanted every page to look like you just screenshotted a cartoon.
Yeah.
And that's what I presented. And they were like, whoa, no. And then I showed my rough sketch, which was really just something I was going to go in and reference later. But I just showed my rough sketch, and they're like, this is amazing. Just make the rest of the book look like this. And I'm like, this is crap. This is the sketch. They're
No.
like, yeah, this is great stuff. Look at how you did the face. I'm like, oh no,
You're
I
like,
don't want to
oh.
do that.
It was a great little sketch, but I think the most important thing is, would you be happy making the book in that style? And if the answer is
Yeah.
no, it doesn't matter how much they like it, right?
No,
Like
I
that's the
had
hard part is like, how do I find that balance?
Yeah.
my brain went into full visual development mode, and I had 3/4 turnarounds for characters. I went full
Oh,
blast.
Oh my
whoa. You're like,
God.
you
I
should do
went
a
full
TV pitch.
blast.
That's what it sounds like you have.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like a TV
Yeah,
pitch.
I mean, I went nuts. Character designs, alien designs, all kinds of stuff. And
Brilliant
then
design.
I had to do the book dummy, write the manuscript. We went through like 4 or 5 rounds of editing, trimming down the manuscript. They're like, this is way too much. You're just like, you're writing a comic book here. We got to condense this down, 500 words max. And I'm like, how am I going to say all of this? The pictures say tell the story. You don't have to explain the boy walks into the room. He just paint it. I'm like, oh right, got it. But but there was that part of it, and then there was um the cover. So I had to do the cover, some interior spreads, and the manuscript, and that would be the pitch. Um, Everybody loved the cover, but not the interiors. And
Mm.
the cover was the roughest thing, but they were like, make the whole thing look like the cover. And I was like, no,
No, I can't do that.
well, I'm gonna go over here and do these magic cards real quick. I'll think about
You're like,
this.
I don't actually know this. I don't know what this is.
Like,
It freaked you
I'm,
out.
I'm out of my depth. I just want to photo reference things and make maquettes. I don't know what the hell is
You're
going
like,
on.
sorry, I take it all back. I didn't want this.
Like,
I made a
but
mistake.
a lot of it also comes down to you figuring out who you are as an artist and as a human being. Like you might get excited about a certain path and say, I really want to do that. But then you get the opportunity and you go, oh, no, I
Yeah.
don't, I don't like this at all.
I'm
Or
so
like,
glad you brought that up because I feel like that is a lot of
Yeah.
people putting like getting portfolio reviews or trying to get certain work. It's like the idea of that job, but like there you probably have both seen portfolios where the work doesn't line up with the job they're trying to go for, where
All
they're
the
like, I would
time.
love to work for Magic or I would love to work for kids books, like you're saying, but the work isn't saying that, you know? And it's like, what do you actually love to do? Like and be really like honest about that. And what does the job actually entail? And be really honest about that too, and see if those two things line up, you know?
right,
And it
what are the
doesn't mean that you can't
needs?
create work for that job, but it has to excite you because if it's something that like you're like, I hate doing that, or I suck at that, or whatever, and I don't want to get better at that, or I don't want to learn how to do that, then that's totally fine. Just don't
Just
try to
don't
do
put it in
that.
the portfolio like you want to do this all day.
Yeah.
Because what I have to impress upon students all the time is that what is in your portfolio is going to be what people think that you are going to try you're going to be applying for. So if you have 3D modeling in your portfolio and and it's there, and it's like, okay, I'm going to assume that one of the potential jobs that you want to apply for is to be a 3D modeler. And every single time I see the same kind of quality 3D model and I ask them, I'm like, is this something that you actually would want to do for 8+ hours a day, like for a long time? And they're like, well, no, I'd rather do my character designs. And I'm like, okay, then like why aren't you showing me a character design portfolio? And why do I have these 3D models that you clearly did not enjoy doing at all? Because I can tell the quality. You didn't spend time to polish this. You didn't spend time to make this look special. You clearly don't want to be here in this zone. So why am I looking at it right now? Don't show me what you don't like.
Yeah.
And so many students make that mistake of putting everything in their portfolio, the kitchen sink, as it were, all of their assignments that they've done. And they're like, oh, I just wanted to show that I could do it. It's like, listen, I don't care that you could do it because I have this other person over here who does this well. Like, not could do it, but wants to do it.
Right.
That's what matters.
Yeah.
And I'm like, clearly you don't want to do this. I don't want to see work that you didn't want to do. It
Yeah,
bums me out, honestly.
But it's not just students. I think professionals too. Like we either like we're in love with a certain kind of create, a certain kind of art, and then we've fallen out of love with it, or whatever the reason might be, or again, I'm sure we've all done it in different ways. Like I don't think I've ever been the greatest have had the greatest portfolio tailored to the things I've said that I've wanted to do personally.
Yeah.
I think because what I really want to do is my own stuff, so it's like I have the right portfolio for me to hire me, but not for a company. So
well,
but
I also think that, well, and I fell into this trap. um I just assumed that an art director would take a leap of faith
mhm.
that
Yeah.
I could do it,
Yeah.
that I could do whatever, because like look at how well I paint.
Yeah.
Like you don't need to see dragons in my portfolio. Look, come on now, let's go.
Have some
Right?
imagination. Like, come on.
Yeah.
Yeah, like have some faith, right? But then they're looking at, but then that art director could probably name off like 30 people off the top of their head that could do exactly what they need. Why would they want to take a leap of faith?
Yeah.
Yeah. Why are you
They can
betting
just
on
hire that person.
Yeah, and also I know that like you just became an art director, which congratulations, Eric. Yay.
Thank you.
I know you're only doing your first commissions, and I know that like being able to see a project through is a different kind of experience too, because even before I was an art director at Wizards, like it was in games and just the people who I'm going to be working with constantly. people often, and I always thought that as well. It's like, why can't they just like see that I paint really well? I don't understand why I have to take this like art test or I have to do all this stuff. But then you very quickly realize that just because somebody can paint doesn't mean they can paint everything. It doesn't mean that they want to paint everything. The moment you give them a project and you got a timeline, you got deadlines to adhere to. The moment that you get a project that's not exactly in their wheelhouse, they have to figure out how to tailor their art style to do this certain project, and they crash and burn because inevitably they haven't practiced this kind of art form before. They don't know the specifics of it. They don't know why this works sometimes. You can have good foundations, you can have a good sensibility, but if it's an area that your brain is not used to adapting to, then that is hard.
Yeah.
That's hard. No matter how good of an artist you are, unless you're like a virtuoso or something like that, who like just knows how to do everything really good immediately, which some people are like that. But most artists, there's a learning curve to tackling a new kind of thing. So even like, even if it's like just like a different kind of illustration where it's like character scene versus like creatures or versus environments or versus a crowd sequence even or versus action sequence. If an artist is a portrait artist and you give them like an action sequence, sometimes they're not going to be able to do that. Like you just haven't gotten used to, treating the body in a dynamic sensibility where the perspective is forced. And, it's just like we're going to find somebody else who specializes in that.
Yeah.
And it's something that, like, after seeing the other side of it as an art director, I was just like, oh, like, we can't, like, actually mess around with taking chances on people. Like, I actually need to see from you if you actually are cut out to do this before I hire you. Because, like, we only got, like, I don't know, so much time to do this thing. And I got to make sure that you can do the job. Because, like, having it done and not being it done right, it's just like that hurts the project more than, than me just, like, finding an artist who I know can do this already.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's way harder to take a chance on somebody when you're in the thick of a project.
There was lost my chain of thought.
Oh.
Um,
Oh,
oh no. Okay, so I it's something when it comes to portfolios and putting together a portfolio that I like to tell my students because they get all excited about um, telling me about their favorite artists on Instagram or their rock star celebrity painter that they follow and who they admire so much. And it might not even be a working professional illustrator. It's just somebody that has thousands and thousands of followers online or has their own Patreon or something. But that doesn't necessarily mean that that artist that they admire is capable of hitting a deadline.
Mhm.
yeah,
But that's the stuff that nobody knows unless that artist is very transparent about their workflow.
Mhm.
Because there are a lot of students out there that have artists that they admire online or Instagram and all that, and it might take their celebrity crush like 3 months to do a painting or to finish an illustration.
That's true.
And if the client needs something in a 6 week turnaround time and they go reach out to that celebrity artist and that person crashes and burns, they drop the ball completely, or
yeah,
they ghost the client, they don't turn in their sketches on time, they have no sense of time management, but you don't know any of that
Yeah.
just looking at their Instagram page and how beautiful their catalog of work is. But if you actually ask somebody like, how long did this take you to do? And you find out, oh, well, actually, this each one of these takes me 3 months to do.
it's like, oh,
Right?
that's
You
not really
can't
gonna work.
compare yourself. So my point was with them is that you can't compare yourself to other artists or to the people that you look up to because you really don't know what their work ethic is and or how fast they work or what they're if they're even working under a deadline. They could just be some digital fine artist.
Yeah. And there's a lot of people who are influencers who are just doing art for themselves.
Yeah.
They're not doing things for a project, they're not doing things for a company. Oftentimes when somebody gets super popular online, and this is kind of a rare thing. Oh, no, but not rare because it's happening more often as influencers become more and more prominent in society over the past like decade. Um it happens where companies will hire an influencer to do the thing that they already know how to do, and they're like, hey, like we want our brand represented in the way that you already have your style, but that is an uncommon path to take, and it's not a reliable source of income either. That one job can be a really good source of income for that, in that moment in time, but you don't know. They'll have to diversify their income in other ways because you can't just rely on company sponsorships to keep you, fed unless somebody has you on retainer or something to do the thing that you do. But there are a lot of people who are looking at influencers and they're like, I want to be that, or like content creators. Art shouldn't be content, but it's okay. That's what that's what we've done. Um, but with content creators, that's a job. That is an entire job.
Yeah.
And not everybody's cut out to do that either. I think what's important is to look at your own skill set. What kinds of things give you joy? What kinds of things give you energy? If posting on social media is not a thing that gives you energy, if something that saps away from you, but you're saying that you want to be a content creator, it's like you don't. You
Oh.
just like the idea of being able to do art and like seeing all the followers that art nets them. But what you don't know is they're not just posting their art aimlessly into the void. They're curating, they are creating a voice for themselves. They are making videos and thoughtfully recording their process. And there's lighting and colors, and their setup is aesthetic. And they have a soft voice, or they have a music that they choose, or they have a sense of humor. There's a way that they have been able to make the system work for them. And like Eric said, you can't make that system work for you the exact same way because you are not the same person. So what is it that is in your skill set, in your wheelhouse? How do you elevate those things that make you you and draw in an audience from that? Like, do you actually want to be a content creator? Do you want to be a full-time studio artist? Do you want to be somebody who is a muralist out in the world? Do you want to do events? Like what? There's many different ways that you can find your path as an artist. But I think people get so starstruck by the visibility of an influencer. That's what you see the most. And so you think that that is the path that you must follow in some way, or like these few things, like a full-time artist is like that. That's the measure of success. And it's like success doesn't mean just one thing, though. It's like there's many different ways to make it as an artist. And to make it is also a fleeting thing. So I think that's what a lot of people don't talk about too, is just like a lot of people are chasing an ideal that is not really possible to maintain long term if it's just one thing. So it's figuring out you do it well, and elevate the things that you do well. Like I think that's definitely something that people don't really realize when they're curating a portfolio or curating their identity. So yeah.
I think something too that you guys made me think about is like, even if a lot of these influencers are actually fast, so you'd be like, oh yeah, there must be churning out contract jobs all the time, but it's not the same thing as creating sketches or content that's meant to be consumed like that as it is to basically take a client's direction and tell a story through your imagery. Like that is a specific skill as well. And everybody thinks, oh, I'm an artist, I'm a storyteller, but not everybody has that specific skill set either. So it's knowing that about yourself. If you enjoy doing that, if that's something you can do. And again, with work, I feel like to put a sports analogy here, but it's like it's basically a performance, like when you're hired by somebody. So like if you have not, like what you were saying earlier, Lauren, about like your portfolio shows what you can do already, what you've practiced and honed and trained on, and then when they hire you, you're performing there. You're not supposed to be, some jobs you can learn on the job, but the hope is that you're gonna be able to deliver. And I guess I'm just thinking of like all these players in the World Cup, for instance. Everybody's saying who's the best player on paper, but what matters is those 90 minutes. Like who can
Yeah.
step up to the plate in that moment of pressure when everything is going to shit, and that knowledge is put to the test. What can they do there? And I feel like that's in a way what clients are looking at when they look at your portfolio. Like they're looking for somebody who can, if you can even see that, you know what I mean? Like, and I think that
Yeah.
is why it's becoming harder and harder to get a job, because there it's so competitive, but it's also who can deliver when the clients, I don't know, the revisions or whatever, like who can actually perform under that pressure, not just when you feel like it or you're drawing what you like to draw
Yeah.
without, like that's your comfort zone. You can do your best work in your comfort zone, but how about when somebody gives you an assignment that's not necessarily what you would like to do? I think about that as well, and I don't think I'm the best person to do that sometimes, so I think like you can get better at those things, but just being really real with yourself, like what are my current skills and where are the gaps in my portfolio in those aspects as well, you know? Um,
Being honest with yourself is so important and so hard about what you can and cannot do.
yeah.
Like just is I don't know. That's a tangent. I'm not gonna go there. But it's just I don't know. My ADHD self, it's like you have a lofty goal, you have a lofty ideal about what it is that you can accomplish, and then when you're in the thick of it, you're like, uh-oh, this was a mistake. I don't know how to handle this anymore. And it's just
Well,
like, how do you even pivot when you get there? Like you put something in your portfolio that you're like, I can do this. And if you've only done it like once and you like struggle through that too, it's like, ooh, maybe
yeah.
leave that out until you've proven that process a little bit more.
I did want
Because
to clarify though that I feel like there's nothing wrong with being aspirational, like you're saying, where you're like, I want to think that I can do that and pull that off. But I feel like a lot of times too, applying for jobs or trying to get hired is an act of desperation in a lot of cases where like I need the money now. And I think in
yeah,
my head, I've never gotten money now out of an art job of something I can't already do, you know?
yeah,
If it's something that requires skill building or whatever, that stuff's going to take time and you're going to learn it faster without the pressure of needing to be hired right now. You know what I mean? Um,
good point.
yeah, I don't know. I feel like, and some people will be like, oh, book covers pay, I don't know, 3, 4, 5K, and they'll be like, I'm just going to do book covers. But maybe their style isn't for book covers. Maybe it's more for something else. You know what I mean? Like maybe it's more storyboard art. But a lot of people I notice too look at how much a job pays and think that's the kind of work I want to do, and they're not being real with what their skill set actually is, which might be I'm great at visualizing things quickly and doing like you're saying action scenes or whatever.
Yeah,
And maybe this kind of book cover illustration requires more rendering or more things that I don't like doing. I don't like spending time on detailed stuff or whatever. Just as an example, but yeah.
I
Um,
mean, had I known how much storyboards paid per panel, I would not have wasted a second of my time trying to chase after book covers or any of this other shit that I have honed my entire life.
so funny.
I had no idea how good storyboard artists have it.
I don't
well,
And
know if they
you
have it
say
good.
that, but it's a hard time being a storyboard artist right
It's a hard time to be. It's yes, it is not an easy time to be a storyboard. Any storyboard artist listening, don't listen to Eric. I know what you're going through. It's
well,
not
I mean,
easy.
it's not just storyboards for animation, it's storyboards for advertising.
now.
There's always going to be TV
Um,
commercials. And if you can get in with that, for a 30-second ad, getting paid something like, for a black and white to a color panel, anywhere from 150 to over $300 per panel for 29, 28 sketches for a 30-second ad, minus the second that the product, 2 seconds that the product is on screen before it cuts to black or to the next ad. You're knocking that out in a day, day and a half versus weeks on a painting that's going to pay the same amount of money.
Yeah.
oof.
Then you just move on to the next ad and the next ad and the next ad. It's crazy. But anyway, that's somebody who wants to do that, they will make it happen. But they
Hmm.
will have the proof in their portfolio
Hmm.
that
That
they
they
can
can
do
do
it.
that.
They're not just going to show a rough hodgepodge of, concept art and some still life painting and be like, yeah, I can do storyboards. But that's some people's mindset when they come into portfolio reviews. I'm just going to show you what I'm capable of, and you just, decide from there which thing you want to give me money for.
Hmm.
I'm like, oh God, no,
Yeah.
it
I would
doesn't
love
work
that
like that.
confidence. That sounds great.
You know what I also
Sounds so
think with
delusional.
yeah, right. Do you know what I also think with the kitchen sink method too? When people throw everything in their portfolio, like heedless of what, like whether or not they want to do it. I think a lot of it is maybe it's not obvious. I don't think it's a hot take. Um, but I think it's just motivated by fear. It's
Hmm.
fear that the authentic thing that you would rather do probably like it's not enough. And so you think that you have to show all of the stuff. It's like I can show you the world of what I can do. And most of it is not really what they can do. It's they're showing me what they can't do that well because a lot of the things are you can I can often look at somebody's portfolio and tell exactly where they don't want to be. And I can tell exactly where they do want to be. And 9 times out of 10 whether it's student or aspiring professional, that thing that they would rather be doing is somewhere buried in their portfolio. Just like as an aside. I was just looking at a student's portfolio at SCAD actually. Um, Amazing artist, by the way. Uh, and her name is Juanita. Juanita. Uh, I saw her, I was looking at her portfolio and I was like, okay, this is cool. Like, it was a kind of like it reminded me of this early 2000s like Invader Zim aesthetic, but it's like more painterly rendered. There were trappings of that in the style, but it was very rendered, very like the whole scene's painted out and everything. Um, and I was like, okay, like this is cool. Like, I was giving like feedback and stuff like that. It wasn't bad art. And but then at the very end of the portfolio, they curate a portfolio for the art directors to look at it. At the very end of her portfolio, there was this colored pencil like rainbow drawing that like was like a girl and it had all this like detail and like just like the things around it. It reminded me of a sophisticated version of how kids would doodle in the margins of their notebooks when they were studying, but it was like it was elevated. And that it gripped me like nothing else in her portfolio did. And I was like, wait, 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 wait. I was like, what is that? Show me more of this. And she was like, oh, like that's just the stuff that I do on the side. Like I just do that on Instagram. That's like not for my portfolio. I was just like, no, it's for your portfolio. I was like, that's where you would rather be. I can tell immediately that that's you. Where was this in the rest of this? I was like, I want to see our portfolio of this. And I was like, and she was like, I can't figure out how to like make it commercial.
Mm.
And I was like, I don't think that's what it's about, actually. I was like, I think you would, and I was like, tell me like about like more about how do people receive this work? And they're like, oh, people, like, it's just like I saw prints of this, and like people buy prints of this, and I'm like, well, yeah, of course they do. It's awesome. And she has actually a really good following on Instagram, and like her prints are actually really popular. And I'm just like, I understand it's important to learn how to do other things, for sure it is, but there was such fear around even showing me this beautiful art that is clearly her identity and what she does because she couldn't figure out how to package it.
Mhm.
And I'm like, if you figure that out, no one's going to tell you anything. No one's going to be able to stop you
Yeah.
because that's something I don't see anybody else doing that. Like that you would get hired for that more than anything else because everything else in your portfolio, you're trying to box yourself into what everybody else is doing. That is something else. So I guess my question is, for people who are like that, where they have a very unique sensibility, where it's very hard to categorize, how do you recommend them navigating? Because I understand why it's driven by fear. It can be scary to not know how to market yourself for the first time. Because I mean, I told her, for her, it's her journey. I was like, I wanted to, for me, I wanted to have her work on and hone the polish and sophistication, and also continue to work on her. Always work on your foundations. That's all. That's advice that I give to every artist, no matter what. Like, make sure that you have a strong foundation to come from. You know your anatomy, you know your color language, you know your lighting, etc.
Well, I
But
mean, there's different kinds of gambles.
yeah,
If she's working in a style, if it's just a stylistic choice on for something that exists and is being commissioned, like if let's just use clowns for example, like if she's drawing clowns a certain way or comic book superheroes a certain way stylistically that's different from everybody else that's out there, then okay, you have a unique voice and that's going to get seen by somebody eventually. But if you are doing something that you don't see a market for, that's even scarier.
Mhm.
You put something in your portfolio that you don't see anybody else doing and you double down on that, but then you're constantly going to have this fear in the back of your head. Well, I'm wasting my time doing this personal vision because there's no market for it. I could be churning out comic book pages, painting samples for Magic, visual development samples for Disney. I could be doing a ton of different things, but I'm doubling down on this thing that I have no idea if it's going to be successful or not. And I would never tell anybody choose one or the other, but I would definitely tell them to split their time. So if they had to have two portfolios, make one that you know is geared toward the kind of work that you are aspiring to get, but also work on the stuff that enriches your soul. Because if you just stop doing the thing that you care about, you're going to die inside. Pieces of you are going to die inside. And I know for a fact, and we'll be able to get into talking about this eventually, probably soon or the soon. If I had just stopped cold on creating the kind of stuff that I was passionate about, the last 3 years of my life would not have existed.
Mhm.
And that the kind of stuff that I was passionate about was seen by a client, and they were like, hell yes, we want to work with you. And that was so gratifying because I just thought for years nobody wants to see this what I'm doing. I was just convinced because I didn't see anybody else out there doing it. So I would never tell anybody not to follow their passion, but make sure you are managing your time to create something that you know if it's good enough, somebody will pick it up, but also follow your heart, if that makes sense.
I think for some artists that might work where it's like you being the example where you're like you were obviously making work that you're like very good at and you enjoy making it to a certain degree, but it wasn't where your heart is, and also making that work too. But there's some artists that can't do that work
Yeah.
that will pay them, you know what I mean? And that's where you have to be real with yourself. But I do agree with you, Eric, in the sense that I think it's good to have that perspective though, because I would tell her to double down on the thing that made you go, whoa, I've never seen this before, but also be realistic and be like, you probably won't get hired to do covers doing that if there's no covers out there doing that. You might get one, but you're not going to get consistent ones to make pay you the bills, to pay your
Yeah.
bills. So maybe you go more the convention route, but again, know the costs that come with that. Or maybe you, like you say, like you do. I think the more unique your style, the more you're going to be your own boss, but then know
Yeah.
what all goes into that and how long that road is. Not to say don't do it, but I don't think there's ever any guarantees for the thing you love that you don't see out there. There's zero guarantees.
Yeah.
Well, I
It's
had a I had an uh, artist guest on my smart school class last term that truly doubled down on the thing that she loved to do. And um, she said that she told us in class that she was told by her teachers in college that there's either the in studio illustrator route or the children's book illustrator route, but there's no path for somebody that just wants to do their own personal work and be successful and sell original paintings. And she has proven them wrong and been able to be wildly successful just doing her thing,
Mhm.
100% her thing. She wakes up, does her stuff, goes to bed, and has a successful Patreon and huge internet following and all that stuff. But I think a lot of that comes down to consistency and what our dear friend Tim said. Nobody cares till you finish it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you can be like, oh, I've got these sketches for this thing that I'm thinking about doing, but nobody cares until you finish it. And when you finish it and you put it out in the world, then you do it again and again and again. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh my God, the world knows, starts following you, and they know that you are going to consistently keep delivering amazing stuff month after month after month because you love it.
Yeah.
Then you don't have to chase after some client. You can just throw your Patreon up there and call it a lifetime. Go to conventions and have your multiple sources of income based off of the thing you love to do.
Mhm.
Yeah. But
That
it's a
artist is
massive.
Annie Stegg, by the way.
What do you say?
Annie Stegg
Oh,
draw
yeah.
No way. That's an amazing
Annie.
story. Annie's
Annie's,
freaking killing it and crushing it.
my
Annie's
God.
Names.
destroying it.
Yeah.
Her story was just so like positive and uplifting for the students, and I so glad that she shared that with us and for them to hear, because so many people just think magic cards are nothing, Disney or nothing, Netflix or nothing, children's books are nothing. And here's an artist that was like, yeah, nah, I'm gonna do my thing.
Mhm.
You
In
know?
their own way. And then she got magic cards as well.
Oh
Right.
wow.
But they found stuff for her that was in her wheelhouse. So they
Exactly
weren't
in her
asking
wheelhouse.
her, we want you to do your version of some dragon or something, or sci-fi scene. Like, no.
Nope. She was drawing soft environments, sweet creature, like just fairy things. It was very much she was getting hired for her.
Yeah.
That's
Like
it.
just do what you do already.
Do what you do and let the industry come to you.
Mhm.
Yep.
And there's a Taoist philosopher that said something similar to that. Like, don't chase after money. Figure out what it is you love to do, and the universe will provide. Like, the industry, whatever industry it is, will come to you. If
Yeah.
you show that you are good enough at it, they'll come to you. Somebody will recognize it and give you money for that thing that you love to do.
Hmm.
So, um, I wouldn't have believed it if it didn't happen. And I preach it all the time to my students.
Yeah.
So, but then there are the knuckleheads out there that don't want to listen to anything that their teachers tell them,
Mhm.
and they want to apply for illustrator jobs, and their portfolio is full of concept art, or or vice versa. And
Mhm.
it's like, what we are looking for somebody that can do narrative illustration, storytelling in a painting.
Yeah.
And I can't tell if you are capable of doing that if you're showing me an entire portfolio full of character design turnarounds. How does that help me?
That
Like,
reminds me of like the family members, like you draw me a logo or draw me a
Oh my
tattoo or
God.
whatever. And it's
I'm
like those
sorry,
are
but
all different skills. Do you understand that?
yeah.
it's like I want a logo. It's always I want a logo design. It's like, do you understand like the skill and I can do a logo. I don't want to do one, but it's a different skill set to do a logo design. I just got trained as a graphic designer too, but
Yeah,
like I'm not doing your logo, bro. It's just
right.
that's the thing too. Like when I was younger, I had my graphic design stuff in my portfolio because it was something that I could do, and then I would get hired for graphic design stuff, and I'm like, I don't want to do this. Why did I put this in my? This is a mistake. And
Yeah.
then I struggle on it because I don't want to do it and because I have no energy behind it.
Mm.
It's just not at all the best example of my work that I could have done. And instead, they could have found an actual graphic designer who loves doing logo design, and they would have turned out a way better result and would have been happier doing it. It's
Yeah.
just like all this like energy that's going out of me into this work that I don't want to be. I don't want to. It's like it reflects in every stage of the process, and vice versa when someone has that joy and true expression and excitement behind the work that they are meant to do. That energy is magnetic. It might take a while, and it is a double-edged sword because it's a much more uncertain pathway to take to do the thing that's authentic to you without knowing whether or not there's a market for it yet, and how to find that market for yourself. And oftentimes it is that thing where maybe it can take years to find the market that suits your work, but you following that path, eventually someone will see it and somebody will resonate with it because like, you are in that work. And it's understandably very scary to bet on yourself like that, to
Mhm.
not know if the thing that you are doing is going to allow you to eat. Um, it's like, especially when you're being unflinching and uncompromising, but oftentimes when people put that kind of energy behind their work, it does pay off one way or another. It does get in front of people's eyes. Um, but it is not easy. It's the more uncertain path. It's the scarier path. It is the perhaps unstable path, but it's your path that you chose for yourself. And so I think the other thing that I would say to people who have that unique style and are scared, it's just like, yeah, you might be signing yourself up for difficulty and hardship, but also you could be signing yourself up for the greatest successes that you've had in your life, and they are your successes. And it's just like, what is your worst case scenario? If the worst case scenario is that you won't have a home and you won't be able to eat, like you have no support system whatsoever, then like, okay, maybe like
Take care of that
Like
first.
there's a, I want you to be safe first and foremost. But if you know that you're covered in some way or another, if you know that there's a fallback plan, or there's people who would support you, or there is, like, I can work, retail for a little bit, or I can do something for a little bit just to make ends meet. And you can do that, you can make that happen, then your art is meant to be your own too. And if you truly are an artist who knows that your soul is going to wither if you are asked to do something that you just energetically do not agree with and cannot align with, and you know that you're going to just die inside,
Oh,
lean fully and deeply into the thing that you know that you do and be unapologetic about it. That is usually the quickest path to actually finding that target audience, when you just like, this is who I am. This is my art. I know probably nobody else is doing this. And it's going to take me a while to find who wants this, but I'm going to do it because this is what I do. I do this. Nothing more beautiful than an artist who bets on themselves.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's a hard path to follow.
Yeah. It is really hard to have that combination of the stuff that speaks to somebody like the way her work did, where it was like it's so unique and it's so her, but also something that the world wants right now in terms of paid work,
Yeah,
like
it intersects.
yeah, but when I think it's rare for that to intersect. So I think that that might be. I've talked to so many artists that like feel kind of down when they're like they can tell they had the portfolio review and they're not going to get the job,
Hmm.
and it's just like, but it is really really hard to have both. You know what I mean?
It is
To not
very hard to have
only
both.
find your style, to be at that skill set where you are good enough, but also to be hireable for what the thing you want to do. I think that intersection is really difficult. So don't be down on yourself if you're not there yet, and it's another no, and it's like not ready yet. Like there's so many people that have been told like I mean, I'm one of them, I guess, like where it's like people have been like,
Yeah.
I can't believe you're not making magic work yet. And it's like, that's fine. I'm still making the stuff I want to make, But it's like people can tell you, for instance, like your work is a fit for this. And it's like, yet you still don't get the work or whatever. But that's not a judgment on you necessarily. It's just that intersection sometimes doesn't happen for a long time. And that's okay. And it might never happen, and that's okay too. But it's just knowing what your priorities are and what you want. And I know my priorities right now are making my own stuff, so I'm not too upset about it. But there are some people where that is their job, that is the one job, like you guys were saying, that's the one thing they want.
Hmm.
And then how do you settle with that? How do you square with that when you're not ready yet?
Well, that's the other thing is uh there you have to be humble and accepting of feedback. And
Absolutely.
I think that there are a lot of students out there that don't get told what they need to hear.
Hmm.
So they come
Yes.
into these portfolios grossly underprepared. They haven't been told the things they need to know about composition, edge control, value contrast, color theory, and they just like, here's my stuff, let's go. When's that first commission coming? And
Yeah.
then they get the equivalent of a punch in the eye, and they walk out of there like, I can't believe they didn't like my stuff. I'm like, well, your fundamentals are like a mess, and nobody's told you this. Like,
Yeah.
how did you even what? So like, I don't know. I think that some people need to really objectively look at their work
Hmm.
and say, do I have, am I a generalist? Do I have what it takes to do this job, or am I only the dragon person?
Hmm.
Or am I only the person that somebody's going to call on when they need cute forest elves or something like that? Because if then that's the case, then get really unbelievably good at that. Or if you're just mediocre at it, you can't get mad when somebody tells you no.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
exactly. Another thing I thought of too is like I don't think I've ever been as persistent in a portfolio in terms of like I've seen people that like get a portfolio review and then work on that thing for 6 months and then submit again and then work
Yeah.
on that thing again and it's almost like a full-time job to submit for that one job. And again, how do you do that if you need to pay the bills now? Like you need the time to work on that skill and to work on that piece, and get that feedback. So I have a lot of respect for people who have that tenacity to like, oh, year after year, keep going for that job, and then they finally land it. Like
Well, the comic book cover artist guy I know named Taryn Clark,
Yeah,
he's like
we
he's
interviewed him.
May have been a guest
yeah,
on the show.
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, and he was talking about how he worked in graphic design. He had a graphic design job for years. He just did like this boring job that he hated and just did churned out fan art on Instagram, and it caught wind, it caught fire, and people were like, "Who's this? What is this?" And like, "You want some cover art?" And he said, "Yes, please." And I think he's like like in the past 5 years done something like 300, 400 covers, something like that.
The dude stepped
But
up to the plate and delivered and like
delivered.
and then
Yeah.
just got better and better and better. And it was just like I feel like that's rare too. Like somebody that is not only just like once the job hits, they step up to the plate and they completely knock it out of the park. But then he kept just getting better. And now he's like one of the best in the business, man. Like I
Yes.
honestly he's one of those names where you're like, I mean, he just had a Kickstarter too that was super successful for his cover art. Like he's freaking killed it.
I'm gonna plug him. I'm gonna plug him right
Yeah,
here.
plug Taurus.
Yes.
Because
Yay.
because not
We'll
only
link in
do
the description.
I got the
Yeah,
whole
there it
thing.
is.
Oh man, is it
Well, you
blurred?
gotta.
Is it
Oh yeah,
blurred?
there we go.
There it
There
Yeah,
is.
we
Oh,
go. Up, up.
beautiful.
it's killer.
This thing is a hefty book of like his art. Why is it blurred? Oh
Because you have
crap.
your background
God.
blurry.
Go
Put your face
go
behind it.
go look him up and support his work. He's
What's the
fantastic.
Fine.
book called, Eric?
Oh, it is called The Marvel Art of Taryn Clark.
Wow.
Yep,
Taurin, Clark with an
Clark.
E.
Yes.
Clark
Mhm.
with an E.
Like with an E.
And he's, I
He's a
mean,
beast.
my
He's
goodness,
amazing.
he's a beast. So, but that is somebody that, yeah, we're not saying give up if your portfolio is not where it needs to be, but
Yeah. Yes.
have some kind of income where you can pay your bills, support yourself, and work on the thing you're passionate about,
Mhm.
but objectively be able to say, okay, well, my anatomy is not the best. My color, theory, my understanding of this or this part of the composition isn't the best. Let me work that out instead of, you know, going into these portfolio reviews with this ego, with this high ego, and then just getting slapped. Like
Mhm.
I had a student I was telling for 9 months, these are the things that you need to work on. And he was kind of like, yeah, yeah. And he would do a little bit of it, but he wasn't listening. So I said, well, come to IlixCon. There's going to be portfolio reviews, come to IlixCon. There's going to be a portfolio. There's going to be art directors for Magic. That's where you want to be. Come there. And he got told the same thing I was telling him. And
Mhm.
he came out of that portfolio review like a deer in headlights.
Aw.
He just looked distraught. And he flew all the way from like Germany or something like
Oh
that
shoot.
to be there. He thought
Wow.
for sure, when I
Wow.
get there, I'm gonna dump I'm gonna drop my iPad on the
He's
table,
like, it's a
and
done
they're gonna be
deal.
like, "Oh my God." And he did
Nope.
not get that result. So I said to him after the review, I was like, "How did it go?" What did they say? Oh, well, edge control, value contrast. Oh, all the things I've been telling you
Interesting.
for 9 months. So you had to hear it from somebody other than me.
Hmm.
And you had to spend how much money to hear the exact same thing.
I had to hurt a little
Okay.
more, I guess.
But
Yeah.
you needed that humble pie.
Mhm.
Hmm.
And some people can't handle that. They can't handle that kind of feedback. They're just like, I'm amazing. You just don't understand it yet. But it's
I
it's this
think
is hard. This is hard work.
it is hard.
There's no difference between this and auditioning for some role in a movie, or being on a stage and having to dance or sing or perform, and you know that there's 500 people in line that have to do the same reading, the same performance, and they're going to choose five of you.
Yep.
How do
If
you
even
There's
stand
that.
no
out?
difference.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's that ego thing is definitely born of a lot of people having the skill as an artist when no one else around them does.
Yeah.
And I feel like maturing is when you get that first devastating portfolio review when you realize what level you're actually at by someone who's seen a ton of art before, and they're like, oh, like I am actually not the big fish in the small pond. Like the pond is actually an ocean, and I'm just a drop in the bucket in this ocean, and I am a guppy in this ocean. Uh-oh. I think that's a great lesson to learn.
Yeah.
It's a great thing to have because it's understanding that there are infinite things to learn when it comes to art and infinite things to get better at, and it is a lifelong practice. I think also what ego can tend to do is stop you from studying your art and
Mhm.
study, continuing to practice your foundations. There is no point in your life as an artist where you have learned it all. There is no point at all. It is a Sisyphean task to keep pushing that boulder up that hill, and you stumble upon something that you did not know how to do before, and you're like, shoot, all right, I can either stay at this like flat ground where I just don't improve and I keep doing the same thing over and over again, which is fine. A lot of people make their careers off of that. But if you truly want to get better, if you truly want to, if you have a goal in mind that you want to reach and you haven't reached it yet, that boulder's going to have to keep rolling up that hill, friend, because the learning don't stop after school. Like that's when your tutelage is just beginning, friend. And you have more things to learn because you will find out very quickly that now you're not just competing with your classmates, but you're competing with everybody out there in the world who's vying for the same job that you are. And most of the stuff is remote, so it's worldwide.
Yeah.
That's hard to compete with. So if you want to get client work, if you want to work in a studio, if you want to, if you want to do anything for, even for conventions, you're still competing with other artists because you're applying to get in. It's a juried show or a lottery, which is a whole different thing. But if it's a juried show, then a panel of judges has to look at your portfolio and deem it worthy in a pool of 1,000 artists who want to get into this 200-person deep artist alley. You have infinite things to learn. And it's always going to be the never-ending task of learning new things, learning new things. All right, my materials, I got to learn textures. Okay, I feel like I have a better handle on it, but you're going to run into a texture that you don't know how to render, and now you got to study it again. Like lighting, anatomy, perspective, all those things are so important to continue to study. And some of the best professionals in the world are the ones who never stop studying their foundations. And I tell this to every single mentee I've had. I was like, this is a practice that's not going to stop. It's like I know you don't feel like studying right now. You're going to have to get used to the fact that you still have to study. I'm sorry, but I think that's something that drops off very quickly after an artist graduates, or even an aspiring professional has found the thing that they think they want to do, and they're like, ah, I don't need reference. I'm good. You fool. You fool.
I know. I
We
think I
all
can
do.
tell a difference to the people who are like the studying. It doesn't feel hard. I mean, it is hard, but it's like there's no question as to why I want to do it because I do want to get better at that. You know, where nobody has to twist your arm to do it. Where you're just like, nope, this is what I have to do. I mean, there was a point I think probably in all our lives where we were like, oh, I don't want to do my scales or I don't want to do this,
For
but
sure.
and some things are harder than others. Like I should probably be doing painting studies more than I do. Like I do drawing studies every freaking day, you guys. Like this is like
Hey,
you don't have to twist my arm to
that's
do
why
this. I
his art's so good.
well, that's why my drawings are good, but I feel like I want my paintings, and I say that with knowing there's stuff I need to learn with drawing as well. That's why I keep doing this. But I just mean I want this for painting too, and I realize I'm not going to get better at painting unless I'm doing this with painting as well. You know, so
That's what I wanted to tell you, Mia, when you were talking about trying to find a style that was not too slick, but
mhm.
not too rough and simple
And unfinished. Yeah.
and unfinished. Go look at the body of work of Jerry Pinkney.
Oh yeah, I love his work.
Oh yeah.
So Jerry
Master.
Pinkney had this rough kind of pencil line,
Hmm.
but it was also painted. It was also had a watercolor. It was watercolor, but you could clearly see the rough pencil,
Yeah.
either underneath or on top, like as a finish,
Yeah.
right? Your um your portrait work that you do at like venues and weddings and stuff like that, it has that same kind of quality
Oh,
where
cool.
you are just knocking it out.
Yeah, yeah.
But that is you
Hmm.
in your
In your
like
element.
that's your
Yeah.
simple.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That
You're
is my
not
simple.
overthinking it.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
if you were to take that and splash maybe some kind of digital color on that, or fix your drawing and then go in directly in watercolor, you're going to
Hmm.
find that that simplicity. You're going to find that style that's you, but that is not polished.
Yeah, yeah,
You
for
know what I
sure.
mean?
Yeah, I still feel like the portrait stuff I do is not stylized enough for what I'm trying to do with my picture book stuff. So it's like I think that's the extra step that is hard is that I'm stylizing even more than I did for my Afia stuff, which I feel like is stylized realism, but it's definitely more polished than what I'm doing for the picture books.
Okay. So
But
then
yeah,
here's a thought then.
it's like
Take
three
the
styles.
stuff, take a scan, scan one of the drawings that you have, one of your sketchbooks, portraits that you do at your venues, and then just bring it into Photoshop and squash it,
Mm,
distort it in some way,
mm.
and see what that looks like.
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
as an experiment. Because if
Hmm.
you're saying it looks too real or it looks too this or that, distort it a little bit so that it is or askew in some way so that it feels more approachable to a kid.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Can't hurt. Like I'm just thinking about like what Kadir did with like he has
Hmm.
all these elongated characters, but when you see his kid stuff, when he's drawing kids, just
Hmm.
compresses it. It's still
Yeah.
him. Just
Yeah,
compresses it.
definitely. No, it's like I think play is what this stuff is bringing out in me because I feel like even when I do studies and stuff, like I have a set way that I draw, but I feel like I tend to get tighter than looser. And that's what I'm trying to, with this sketchbook, I'm actually trying to force myself to only draw in ink so that I have to make mistakes. And even still, I'm finding ways to render with pen. And I'm like, why am I doing this to myself? But
So set a
but I
timer
will
on it.
find a
Set a
way to
timer.
play. I will. But that is the next thing I have to do to like that's the next thing I'm trying to sort of rip the band-aid off for myself with my work is
Sure.
I want to see something and then translate that in a looser, more expressive style than what I typically do because it's something
So reduce the
I want to
time that
play
you're
with.
spending on it.
Yeah.
Because if you got time to render, you spending too much time
Oh,
on it.
for sure. But even
Mm.
with those live portraits I'm doing them and I'm trying to keep them under 10 minutes, but even the ones that are longer, that are 15 minutes, let's say, that's still a short amount of time. I still find a way to keep it like realistic proportions. And that's like my brain just immediately wants to do that instead
Your
of
brain wants to
stylizing it
kill you,
down.
man.
Because you're just good. You're just
Yeah.
knocking
No,
out portraits in
it's
You,
not
15
that I want
minutes.
to stylize you guys. Like that's the problem. I feel
I
like the people
know
who can
you're trying to
stylize
force your
are
you're trying to
better,
force your
you know?
brain to function in a way that it's not used to functioning in. Um, recently I took on a mentor because I was like, I want to learn too. I'd been mentoring people for 2 years and I like missed learning myself because I was like, I need a me. I need someone to tell me to do all this stuff and hold me accountable for phoning it in. And so I got a mentor.
Yeah.
And we all know him. He was a guest of the show. It was Alex Dos Diaz. Um,
Alex, that's amazing. Wow,
yeah,
that's a great mentor.
yeah. And when I was what I was trying to do was I've been doing my style for a while and I feel the wall approaching where I'm like, I want to do more than this. I want to elevate my art. I want to like I feel like it's just like too slick, too polished, too just safe at this point. And I want something that feels more unique. And like, I want to explore that. And I was lamenting and telling him it's just like I feel like when I'm painting in watercolor, I can just like get it's like not even technically perfect, but I'm having so much fun with it and it looks so interesting. And he's just like, well, yeah, like when you're in watercolor, you're just like, there's no pressure to make it perfect because watercolor by nature isn't supposed to be perfect. It's a medium that is out of control, and you would have to let it do what it does. It is very, very different from digital art, and so it frees and loosens me up. And he's like, yeah, you're like a drunk person who's just like all the inhibitions are loosed, and like you
Yeah.
just get to play around, and that's where you're having fun because you don't have a preconceived pressure over yourself. And I'm like, oh, I gotta do a queen in watercolor now and see what happens. This is something interesting. So I ask you, Mia, I know that you're playing around with a lot of different mediums, but is there a medium that you haven't really gotten to explore? And do you think that maybe it can break you out of that box that your brain is putting yourself in? Because if it's something that you're not used to using, you're already in unfamiliar territory. So maybe your brain will force less pressure upon you and maybe you can play a little bit more.
Yeah, I think it would be watercolor for sure. Because
Watercolor's
I think
cool.
watercolor terrifies me. I think more than oils. I think those are the two like unconquerable media for me, honestly. Like oil was always the boogeyman in school where I was just like, that's the medium of the masters, and you can't touch that until you know how to do all these other things. And I took a class once, and that was the only time I really played with it, and that was over 10 years ago now. And then watercolor is that same thing where I'm like, I think I used to use it more when I was younger, but I got more intimidated with by it the older I got and the more skills I
Mhm.
got, because I'm like, yeah, you can't. It's the idea of screwing up and having to start over, and that's
Yeah.
exactly what I need. But
Run
also
towards
for the quicker portraits, I feel that is the medium you would that makes the most sense because
Mhm.
yeah, I think it would get me more into the shape thinking as opposed to the line thinking, which is when I think in line, I think of detail and I think of accuracy and things like that. Whereas I'm trying to play and go loose and interpret, I think watercolor seems like the more playful one, you know?
It is the more, for me, it's the more playful one. I think if you're afraid of watercolor, I think for like this advice I try to give to people too, because I always get excited when I feel afraid, because it means that once I tackle it, a breakthrough might have to happen because I'm afraid because I've never like really explored it anymore. So it means that no matter what, I have to learn something new, and that's exciting. And so when you feel afraid of something, my advice is always run towards it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Run towards it and stay afraid.
Yeah.
So yeah, run towards watercolor, Mia. You'll discover new things. It'll be fun. Run towards oil too. Don't be afraid of oil.
Dude,
I
I'm
I
scared of
understand
all painting. What is up with me? I've been doing these like
what.
four acrylic paintings of my characters from my book, which I should know how to paint with the back, like the back of my hand. And I'm just like, I'm so scared of painting. Like I don't know if it's like the lack of or the amount of concentration it takes to do it too, because drawing just feels like I'll do one and then I turn the page and I do another one. But painting takes so much concentration for me that I'm so scared of it still. And I think
Oh,
that I don't enjoy it as much as I enjoy drawing because it scares me, and I should run towards it like we're just talking about, because that's where the growth needs to happen, and that's why it still terrifies me because there's growth to be seen with that. So
yeah.
anyway, this is a good, this started as a portfolio talk and now it's become a pep talk to get me to paint more. I love
I
it.
mean, I want to be clear with the audience listening right now and everybody here. Like all the things that I say, they're all things that I struggled with in the past too, and struggling with right now as well. Um, it's like I often find myself giving advice that I need to take, and I feel like that's a very relatable thing for anybody who gives advice is probably something that you haven't taken yet. And yeah, I give the advice in the pep talk. It's also for me too, who even though I had that talk with my mentor, I still haven't gotten the watercolor thing out and studied more stuff in watercolor because I'm also terrified of it. It's a scary medium. And but I know it's going to be fun. I don't know what's stopping me from doing it, but I think it's just like, okay, if I figure this out, like what then? I have to do more of this, and like what if I don't, what if the next one isn't as good as the last one? Uh-oh. And it's like, and I'm telling my mentees, I'm like, who cares? I always say the art is not real. It can't hurt you. You're in full control over whatever happens on that canvas. Not full control, but you know what I mean. Everything that goes on that canvas is a decision that you've made. So you're afraid of your own decisions is really when you're that's what you're afraid of. You're afraid of the decisions and the time loss and maybe some of the supplies if they're more expensive. But mostly it's the fear of your own decisions. And that fear I face every single day because I'm like, what if I choose the wrong thing the next time I try to do something on watercolor? And then I have to tell myself there's no such thing as the wrong thing. You've learned something
Yeah.
over and over again until one day I believe it and actually follow my own advice.
Yeah. I think comfort zone is too alluring. It's too comfortable,
Oh,
and that's
so
that kills
easy.
it. It's like for all the experimentation and the failures, like why do I want to fail? That's not fun. But again, it's just like getting comfortable with that failure and knowing that it doesn't define you, and that again, it doesn't matter how much again how behind the ball you are, how behind the score you are, you can always get up and fucking win the whole thing.
Yeah.
Sorry for my sports analogies, but seriously, it's like it's just the you know what I mean? Like there's a lot of expectations you put on yourself where you're like how good you expect yourself to be, how good other people expect you to be. You can still mess up and you can still keep going and you can still do great things. It doesn't matter where you are now. It really doesn't.
Yeah.
And all that matters is what you enjoy, what you really love to do, and what you really want to be better at. Really, that's it.
Make your art.
Make your art. Yeah.
Well, as
Funny.
far as the portfolio review part of our conversation, I was that guy that came in arrogant and with the ego and was like, I'm good enough for this. I'm like, look at what you're looking at. This is solid stuff. What are you talking about? I'm not good enough. I would be so heated. I'd walk out of these portfolio reviews. I don't know what the hell they're talking about. And oh man,
Yeah.
Humbling.
humbling. I had to be humbled.
Mhm.
So when I see people going down that road or having the same response, I'm instantly transported back. I'm like, oh man, no, we got to break you of that
Yeah,
Yeah.
immediately.
immediately because you're not
Expectation.
going to progress as a human being if you're just like, that's right. I'm in the room
It's just like,
walking like Conor
uh-oh.
McGregor, just strutting in. Nope, can't do
Oh.
it.
No,
Yep,
it happens to all of us though.
it
Again, I
does.
feel like I've gotten so used to making my own things that it's like when I feel like people like again when people say like, "Oh, you should have this job or whatever," and then it's like I'm like, "Here's my portfolio, here it is," and it's not enough. You tend to feel down on yourself, or like maybe I'm not as good as I thought or whatever. But I just don't have. Again, I can recognize that I don't have the skills for the things that I haven't gotten yet. I just don't, or I have not wanted that job bad enough to have that tenacity that people who keep at it. Like they're doggedly going after that job. And if I don't have that, then I can't expect to have that, you know?
Yeah,
Or it's right place, right time, luck, and that just hasn't landed in your lap as well. Like it could just be literally, you don't know where you're going to be tomorrow. Somebody might call you up for that job you thought, like, I guess I'm not ready. You don't know. You don't know which one of those it is for you. But I think at the end of the day, we all need to eat the humble pie. We all need to do the work. And we all need to be self aware about what we want and what we currently have in terms of our skill set and just keep working and never stop for the things you want. So yeah.
see,
Yep,
that's what I'm talking
that's
about,
it.
Mia.
So, so Lauren, you're going to Amsterdam,
Yes.
Oh yeah,
and
guys. I guess by the time this airs, I'll already have been at Amsterdam, and you'll have gotten to see what cool things me and Eric have been working on for the past, like 2 years, I
3 years.
Is it going to
think.
be announced
Well,
there?
Yup.
Oh my
yeah,
gosh, you guys.
we're
That's
gonna be in a
amazing.
whole like presentation video
Holy
that's gonna be
shit.
shown to the attendees, and then they're gonna put it on YouTube.
Oh
So
my
once it
God.
hits YouTube, then it'll be
Yeah.
like legit.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
So
yeah,
good.
You're gonna
um,
see my stupid face talking about things on that video, and you're gonna see Eric's face talking about stuff too, and some other cool
and like yeah, I'll
people.
just let people know in advance. Like, you see, I'm business up front, but on top, but I was wearing shorts.
That's so funny.
Anyway, I mean, that
Yeah.
there's
Hey, you have to be
reference me.
comfortable.
The video is all two and
Yeah,
a half minutes long. It's fine.
yeah.
Amazing.
But I was and then I thought I was gonna have to hold my dog through the entire
Oh,
interview
that'd be
because
cute.
she wanted belly rubs from the entire video crew that
Oh,
came to
that's
my house.
amazing. I'm sure they were not
And
upset by that at all.
no, but it's
Oh,
like
not at
she just would
all.
not stop whining for
Oh.
belly rubs. So they're like, that's we're picking that up in the audio. Like you gotta I, I had to get my neighbor to come get my dog
Oh my
because
God.
Yeah.
it's like,
Oh my
I
gosh.
don't care about your life. I don't care about your job.
It's like,
Give
love
me belly
me.
rubs.
Priorities.
Dog has the right priorities, I gotta say.
Yeah.
I also think belly rubs are the most important. So
Definitely.
does Prius, wherever she
Oh
is
my
Oh,
right
that's
now.
God.
amazing. I love that
I,
that's what that was when you made that post about is this gonna be something? And there was like a picture of you holding your dog
it
and like
was so
Yeah.
that
cute.
shoes. That's awesome.
Yep.
Yeah.
We are. Yeah. It's I'm nervous, but we'll be all right.
I
We'll
think
be all
we'll be
You're
right.
fine.
nervous
I think you'll
because
be
you
good.
care, because it matters to you, you know?
Yeah, it
Yeah.
matters. It
Yeah.
matters. And
No, it came out
but
good.
anyway.
Yeah.
Oh, it's gonna be great, you guys. I'm so
Yeah.
excited.
Um well, what I also want to do is so I know we I know Lauren, you accept mentees. You have signups through your Patreon?
No, I
Or
do it.
how-
I do it independently, but I will say, my life has gotten so crazy and work has gotten so crazy that I actually backed away from the mentorships for now because I just needed to prioritize my time, and my schedule. I had a really good 2 year run. I adore my mentees, and if y'all are watching, I miss y'all. I know, I'm sorry. I had to say like no more for now. So right now I'm on mentorship hiatus.
Mhm.
So, while I just like reprioritize the things that are important to me in life, and I mean, mentorships are very important to me, but I also like want to be outside and sleep. So that's nice too.
Yeah, very important.
Yeah.
Well, I also do a I would just want to plug my own thing that I've been doing. I've been teaching being a mentor at Smart School,
Yeah.
smarterartschool.com. I've been a mentor for them for the past few years now. So we have a the fall term coming up. Enrollment is ongoing right now. Our class is all about beginning illustration portfolios, and even for people that just need a polish on their existing stuff. My class is really all about artistic growth, and uh, I have students that came in to my class with minimal foundation skills, and now I've got them building maquettes and like really getting into the reference gathering and seeing for themselves how much more there is to learn. One of my students is actually on her way to, or is in Amsterdam right now. On the flight over, she was texting me photos of clouds from her window seat in the plane. And she's like, I can never go on vacation or travel anywhere anymore without seeing photo reference for paintings.
Yeah.
Like, well, welcome to my life. So
Yeah,
now she's like,
exactly.
I have to do a painting of a dragon flying in the clouds, and now I have no excuse for not having proper reference. I'm like,
I
well,
love that. Life ruiner. No,
so
I'm just kidding. In the best of ways.
Life ruiner.
anyway,
Amazing.
that's what we got.
That's really cool. I only have a tiny thing. I don't teach so much, but I am doing my first storytelling workshop. It's for ages 4 to 8, and it will have happened by the time we
Ooh.
air, but it'll be at the Torrance Public Library the Saturday the 18th. But if you are like you have a school or a library that you would like that like a workshop like that to be taught, definitely hit me up. I love sharing my love of stories with grade school kids, but I'm also doing a panel at Lightbox with a couple other amazing author illustrators. And we are actually going to be talking about how visual artists can start out writing their own stories. And it's going to be very technique based or things that worked for us in terms of how we got started actually writing. So if you're interested in that and you're going to Lightbox Expo, it's me, Victoria Ying, Susie Yi, and Jen Wang. All author illustrators that started off just being visual artists and had to figure out how to write. So that's more the stuff that I'm teaching. But yeah, you two are way better at portfolio reviews, giving feedback and that kind of stuff. Or
Oh my gosh, this is
Oh,
great.
well, all three of us are going to be at Gen Con.
yes,
Yeah,
we
we're gonna be at
are.
Gen
That's
Con,
right.
So
baby. Yeah.
all three of us are going to be at Gen Con. So if you see any of us, just shove your portfolio on our face and just slap it down on the table and be like, you know what time it is.
Please don't do that.
Actually,
Please
don't
don't
do
do
that,
that.
Erin.
Please
Don't
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 do that.
encourage
Don't
that.
never
Like
never
you
do
can give
that.
us your card, and maybe if we have
Yeah.
time later, we'll be able to look at it. But
You
at
can
the
say
show is the
later.
worst time,
Yeah,
actually.
you can say
Do it
later.
to me. Do
Can
it to
you
me because
grab
I will bust out laughing.
Oh
Yeah,
no.
Like,
do it to Eric for
let
sure, because he deserves it.
If
After
there's a
doing our
total
wild
lull and
work.
there's no one there, maybe. But yeah, don't do it to Lauren. She will be crazy busy the entire time. Like
Oh,
just
guys.
slammed.
Absolutely. No, I can't handle it at the show, but
At the show, it's
um
a lot.
after we are rested, after we are done with the show, after we have become a couch for like a week, then I think that's a good time to reach out and ask once we've, gotten the information. So
Yeah.
yes, come see us at Gen Con. We will be there. Super excited about it. I will also be at Lightbox Expo,
Yeah.
doing a panel, not a panel, actually, a talk. Ugh.
oh,
It's yeah, that's right. It's called wait, what did I call this panel? The feral eye. Wait, no, the primal eye, a feral approach at creating effective composition, or something like that.
wow.
It's about how composition is taken heavily from humans and how we perceive the world because of our need to survive and our instincts that we have been, grown up that we've grown up with since a million years ago. So it should be a fun talk. I'm excited. I have been walking outside, just looking at all the things that my eyes snag on and just analyzing my own primal eye, and it should be a really fun talk. So yeah,
Is
super
somebody
excited about
recording
that.
this?
I'm gonna get probably a mentee in the audience or someone to record it so that it can be on the channel. And speaking of which, I recorded the panel that we did last year. Still haven't posted it yet.
Oh,
I need to figure out what to do with that footage. So we'll see what's going on there. I've
I didn't
been
know you
busy.
guys actually got the recording. I thought it was lost, but no, that's awesome.
No, it wasn't lost media. We still have it.
Cool. Okay.
If you need somebody to clean up the audio or whatever, I've got the software for that.
Really now?
Yeah.
Fascinating. That's good to know. Okay. But yeah,
All right.
I mean, I'm sure that's not all that's going on with me, but that's the main thing that's going. I'll also be at Dragon Con. Come see me at Dragon Con too.
Awesome.
In the Pop and Comics Alley specifically.
And I'll be at IlixCon in October. We'll talk about all our appearances and stuff as the year goes on, but
Yeah.
just wanted to plug some stuff at the end.
Yeah.
Share your portfolio review horror stories in the comments section.
Yes. Oh, that's a good one. That's a good
Yeah.
one. But yeah, I know that we haven't posted as much this year just because we've all been crazy busy. Be happy for us. It's a good thing being busy. Mia's been amazing. Eric is working with me now, and I'm working as well on many different things as usual. So, your support and comments and likes, subscribes means the world to us. So smash that like button. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed already. Thank you for everybody who joined us in the live chat. We really appreciate you. We always love you joining in the conversation. So thank you for being here. But as always, super happy that y'all have come to listen to us ramble on about portfolio reviews. I hope it was helpful. And we will see you next time. Thanks, everybody. Do it, Eric. There you go.